All right, so today we're going to be talking about graphing and solving inequalities with variables on both sides. So I actually like to start off with this example because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and do it the longhand way, just so you have an example of that. And this kind of covers all of our steps. So our first step is going to be to distribute. All right, and what we're going to distribute is whatever number butts up to the parentheses to everything inside the parentheses. So I'm going to multiply that to this 1 and to this negative x. Don't forget there's a 1 in front of that x. I'm also going to distribute on the right-hand side of my inequality this 3 by multiplication to the 2x and to this negative 1. So 2 times 1 is just 2. 2 times a negative, don't forget about that sign, is going to be a negative 2x. Bring down what we didn't use, which would be this plus 3. Don't forget your inequality sign. 3 times 2 is 6. Don't forget about the x. And 3 times a negative 1. Do not forget about that sign. All right. So from here, sorry, that's a negative 3. Hopefully some of you guys caught that right away. All right, from here, our next step is going to be combine like terms. Combining like terms. Well, on the left-hand side here, I can't really combine anything, right? My x team is its own, and this negative 3 constant's its own. But on my right or left-hand side, I can combine this positive 2. We know there's a sign in front of it. And if there's not a sign, it's known to be positive. Right? And I can combine this positive 3. Whereas this negative 2x is kind of on its own team. All right, so I'm going to bring down what I don't use. Now I'm going to add plus 2 and plus 3. And if you do that in Desmos, you'll get plus 5. All right, again, bring down what we didn't use. All right, next step is variables on both sides. But we know that I always want my x. Look at my answers. X is always on the left, right? So I want to get my 6x to the left. Well, it's a positive 6x, again, because there was no sign in front of it. So the opposite of positive or addition is subtraction or negative. So I'm going to subtract this 6x from both sides. So cancel out on the right. And I'll be left with a negative 8x on my left. Bring down what we didn't use. All right. So now we're to our, I like to call this kind of second and last step, is a 2-step inequality. And we've been working with these quite a lot lately, so there really shouldn't be any issues here. So I want to get my positive or my numbers, right? I think I did this yesterday. I want my x on my left and my numbers on my right. So to get this positive 5, I subtract from both sides. That'll cancel out here. Bring down what I didn't use on my left, and I'll get negative 8x. On the right-hand side, I still have this negative 3 minus 5. You put that in Desmos, you'll get negative 8. My last step is to get my x by itself. Since this negative 8x is being held together by multiplication, I just divide by negative 8. Those cancel out. I'm left with x. Negative 8 divided by negative 8 is 1. Big thing here. What do I do with this inequality? Because I divided by a negative, and this works, same rule if you multiply by a negative, I have to switch the sign. All right, so my correct answer is D. All right, most of you are really big on using Desmos for this, so I'll pull Desmos up. First step is to put the left-hand side in. And in our case, it will be 3x minus 5. Hit enter. We're going to do 2 parentheses x plus 1. Enter. And then we're going to hit x equals, because that's our variable. Oh, I want to test each of my possible answer choices. So I want to test negative 1 and I want to test 7. All right. If the left and right-hand sides are equal to each other, then you know we're working with something. So when I try 7, I get 16 and 16. So that's probably a good answer. But let me just check double or negative 1 to make sure nothing weird's going on. And I have 0 and negative 8. So A and B are out. Now we just have to do our 100 test. And for that, we just put in 100 for x. And let's see if this is true. what this is saying is that we are putting in a 100 everywhere there is an x. So on the left-hand side, if we put a 100 in for x, we will get 295. And on the right-hand side, if we put 100 in for x, we will get 202. You have to remember to use the inequality that they give us. So is this a true statement? Is 295 greater than 202? It is. And if it is a true statement, our answers will always be greater than or greater than equal to. So the correct answer is C. All right, side note. Since it's true, since answers that are true are greater than or greater than equal to, we need to know that false answers are less than and less than equal to. So you will see examples of these, but this is what you really need to remember for the 100 test. All right. Not that if it's true, the sign switches or stays the same or vice versa for false. If it's true, it's always greater than, it's always greater than equal to. If it's false, it's always less than, it's always less than equal to. All right. Now if doing a graph. All right, I'd like to do one of these, again, using our steps. So first thing I want to do is distribute. So I'm distributing this 3 to this x. We know there's a 1 there. And when we distribute, we multiply. Nothing to do on the right so far. So I get 3x minus 4 is less than or equal to x minus 6. My next step, there's no combining like terms. So I want to get my x to my left-hand side. Since the one on the right is positive because there's no sign in front of it, we know we're going to subtract to cancel them out. And we'll just be left with a 2x. I make a mistake. I did. I'm so sorry. Remember when we multiply 3 to the 1x, we get 3x. When we multiply 3 to a negative 4x, negative 4, I'm sorry, we get negative 12. All right, back to where we were, bring down what we didn't use. All right, from here, we want to get this 2x by itself, so we're going to add 12 to both sides. All right, and when you do that, that's going to cancel out. Your 12s are, and you're going to be left with 2x is less than or equal to 6. All right, from here, we're going to divide by 2 on both sides. That'll cancel out. We'll be left with x is less than or equal to 3. Notice we did not change the sign because we did not divide or multiply by a negative. All right, right away, we know that B and C are not going to be good answers because we're using a greater than or less than sign, less than or equal to sign, which means our dot's going to be filled in, right? If it's just greater than or less than, it's an open circle. All right, and last we want to do is figure out this is saying x is less than or equal to 3. So this is going to be every number that is smaller than 3. So 2, 1, 0, all the numbers that are smaller than 3. So A is a good answer. But a good way to remember this is to draw your arrow, right? Which way does this arrow point? This arrow points to the left, which is the way our answer points. Unlike D, where it points to the right, and that's no good. All right, last but not least, another one in Desmos for you. Let's go ahead and say 3x plus 2 and 2x and x equals. All right, so off the side for a second. What points are we going to look at? What points do you think we're going to look at? Well, let's look where our circle or our filled in circle is. We want to look at -6. And then we also want to look at -2. Well, I noticed something right away. My inequality is greater than or equal to. So A's out and D is out because they're not filled in. But we still have to check -6 and -2. All right, so let's give them a go. Let's try -6. And -6 looks good. It's -12. And -2, we have 0 and -4. So -2 is no good. But -6, just want to show you again, we had -12 and -12. That means our left and our right hand sides are equal. So with a problem like this, we were pretty much good to go. We can say that B is going to be our answer. But just to prove to you that the 100 rule does in fact work, if I plug in 100 for X, I get 306 or 306 for my left-hand side, and I get 200 for my right-hand side. Is this statement true? It is. And if it's true, my inequality sign is greater than or greater than equal, depending on what the problem is asking. So if we wanted to write out the inequality, we would take X, put it on the left, because that's what we want. We would take our point of interest that worked in our little test where it said that the left and right hand side were equal, and we would put our inequality sign that we found out right here. Oops. Right there. All right. If you're not really comfortable realizing that this says X is every number greater than -6, draw your arrow. All right, draw your arrow. And which way is this pointing? This is pointing to the right. So the correct answer is still B. All right, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know, or your other teachers. Other than that, have a great day, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.